Hello, Minnesota Studies. Today is Monday, March 7th. I know you're looking at my screen right now and you're saying, no, it's Sunday, March 6th. I am making this video live in Florida. Oh, I should share with you my picture that I shared. Yes. I promised you that I would send you a photo of the beach. Maybe tomorrow I'll send you a photo from the field since I'll be on the softball field tomorrow. But there's the picture of the beach. We had a nice, wonderful ceremony. So I wanted to send that to you and make you maybe just a little bit jealous. Actually, I have a fantastic story for you when I get back, but that's for another time because I'll waste all my time on here with the story. So I do hope it's nice there for you, and I hope it's getting nicer every day. Today, we are going to talk about what we need to be doing in this class. So first, as always, I would encourage you to go to your Schoology account, and in Schoology, let's make sure we're going to Min Studies, and in your Min Studies, always check your grade book. Okay, so first thing you should do is go to quarter 3, and do you have a grade for all of this? So far, we have turned in Chapter 8 and Chapter 9 comprehension. We've done Chapter 8 and Chapter 9 end of the unit test. You should have submitted your map checkpoint 4. And the My Story was what you were working on last week with Mr. Chewinka. My Story of the U.S.-Dakota War. That was also due. However, I also expect that maybe some of you need more time, and that's okay. Then the other thing that you should have a grade on is Quiz 1, Quiz 2 for Chapter 8, and then Quiz 9. You will not see a grade yet for your map checkpoint number 4 or your My Story. I'll have to correct that later on, but I have not corrected that yet. So all the other ones you should see a score on. If you don't see a score on everything other than maps and projects, it means I don't have it from you yet, and you need to get that turned in. So please focus on that. Okay, I'll go over map checkpoint 4 and My Story again here in a little bit. But what I want to do right now is talk a little bit about what we need to get done for today. So first thing, we are going to go into Notability. Let me get out of Avid. Let's go to Minnesota Studies. And we are going to create a new subject. And our new subject is going to be Chapter 10. And it is Chapter 10, Sodbusters. Okay? So that's the first thing you need to do. Done. So there it is. Okay? Next thing we should do, as we've always done, let's go to Schoology. And in Schoology, oops, don't want to be there. Don't want to be there. I said I don't want to be there. Let's go into our materials. And, oh, you know what? I haven't posted it in this one, but it will be posted when you look at this. So I'm going to go to a different class where I already have this posted. So I'll go into my second. You will see that I've created a new folder, that Chapter 10 Sodbusters. You know that's there because this is where this video is. So when you click on this, you'll see that I have the worksheets. So the first thing we need to do is download our worksheets. So you'll see that there's 5 pages. We do not need all 5 pages. Okay? Again, this is a chapter comprehension, which right now in your head, many of you can say, that means we only need 2 of them. You're right, we only need 2 of them. So we're going to put this in Notability, create a new note, Chapter 10. You know what? I'm going to change Chapter 10 worksheets to Chapter 10 comprehension worksheets. Okay? So we'll put that in there. We're going to put this not in our newcomers, but we're going to put it in our Chapter 10 Sodbusters. I do not need all of them, so I'm going to get rid of 5, 4, and 3. I just want page 1 and 2. Okay? So there it is. Chapter 10 comprehension worksheets, Chapter 10 Sodbusters, and I got pages 1 and 2. Okay, so I'm going to import that. Done. Now I can go back to Notability, Chapter 10, and when I go into Chapter 10, there it is. Okay, so today we're going to be working on question 1, but I'll take you through that in just a minute. The next thing, as you know, we need to create our chapter 10 notes and vocabulary page. Okay, so that's the next thing that we need to do. Alright, so now that we have our note page and we have our chapter 10 comprehension worksheet, we can do the next thing, which is, of course, download our book. So, of course, as you're working on this, you can pause and come back to my video at any time, okay? So, what I'd like you to do is watch this film today. It's 2 minutes and 34 seconds, and we talk about the late 1800s and how Minnesota's landscape was changing. And it was changing in many ways. Settlers were here to bust the sod, and I'll talk about what that means. And really, it's just prepping the land for farming. Now, you might think this is pretty easy. Well, it's easy today with the machines and the big tractors and everything that we have. But it was not easy 150 years ago. This was extremely hard work. At the same time that people were working on busting the land to farm, railroads were appearing quickly here in Minnesota, and it was changing the way that people lived their lives. So we're going to read about families that came here, built a farm, lived through these and many other changes. So you'll watch this video at some point today. When we go over sodbusters, what you're going to be looking for is what were the geographic, so you can see here, look for, what were the geographic, the economic, and the political factors that brought people to Minnesota after the Civil War? What was the reason that people came here? Now, you have to remember that one thing that had just finished here was the U.S.-Dakota War. People were still pretty skeptical about coming here. But at the same time, there was a lot of opportunities because if you remember, over 20,000 people fled Minnesota after that time. So you're going to learn a little bit more about this and why people came here. We'll describe what life was like on a farm here in Minnesota in the late 1800s. Okay, we're going to learn who the Grangers were and what they did and who they did that for. We're going to learn about the railroads. One person in particular, we're going to learn about James J. Hill. You talk about wealth. This man was incredibly wealthy. So we'll talk about how this changed Minnesota, specifically western Minnesota. And then how was the arrival of the railroads, both good and bad. So when there's change, there's good things that happen with change, but there's also some bad things. Some of the key terms that you're going to look at, you're going to look at something called subsistence farming, and you're also going to learn about diversified farming. So I jumped down a little bit there. Homestead Act is going to be a big word that we really use. Land speculator, market, grange, cooperative, and regulate. So those are going to be all things that we talk about. So before I have you look at this chapter, I just want to talk about a couple other things, and I went and I took a photo of this. So I want to show this to you. By the way, if you haven't downloaded that book, you should do that now. Let that, you can pause me, download your book, make sure all your worksheets and all that are done. But then what you're going to be looking at today, as we kind of break this down, I'm going to go into my photos here. And I'm going to click on this page. So this is my history book for teachers. You can see notes for teachers. So a couple things that we're going to look at. We're going to look at John and Sarah Tainter, and their story comes from a book here in Minnesota called The Early History of Lincoln County. Lincoln County was, yes, named after Abraham Lincoln because the county was created basically when Abraham Lincoln was the president. So, you name things. You name schools and towns and counties and things like that after important figures in history. So this story is really a short biography of John Tainter and what it was like to be an early pioneer here in this land. So it talks about the eldest daughter. She's kind of the one that wrote this. So we'll learn a little bit more about John and Sarah Tainter. Married in 1867, and prior to their move to Lincoln County, really they've been living in the North Dodge Center, Minnesota, and basically Laura Tainter, her father, and John, their brother, they kind of caught that frontier fever, so they left. They left and they went west to look for land. So we'll talk more about this. we're really going to try to give you an idea of what it meant to break the sod. Preparing the sod of this land, this land that's never been touched for farming before, was incredibly hard, very difficult, and it required a huge effort by a lot of people. So we'll learn about what that was like, and I'll show you a couple videos and what that looked like, and how difficult this job was. So you're going to learn about 1837, a blacksmith in Illinois. His name was John Deere. Sound familiar? But he made a steel blade for plowing, and that changed things as well. So we'll learn about what it was like to break that sod. You're going to learn about grasshopper invasions, okay? So at any time you can pause my video here and you can look at this if you want a little bit more in depth. But we're talking 1873 to 1876. Southwestern Minnesota was ravished by locusts. Well, we call them grasshoppers. But they destroyed crops. And I mean, like, they would literally, you're going to see in your book or read in your book, they talk about so many grasshoppers that when they would come over your farm, they were so thick that they would like block out the sunlight. It was absolutely incredible. So we'll learn about that. And then, of course, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about railroads. Quite honestly, Minnesota's, you can see their dreams, their goals, their ideas for success in this land was going to center around railroads. So, trying to go from east to Chicago to St. Paul was the goal. And so you're gonna learn about the Northwest or the Northern Pacific Railroad, and basically this is about a 2,000-mile track, pretty incredible. But you're gonna really learn about an individual named James J. Hill, and here's his name here, and I'll talk a lot more about him. And his is one of those things where his home in St. Paul might be one of those places that we go and look at. Incredible. So we'll talk about land for settlement and what happened with that and the railroad, and we'll also be talking about housing at this time. So those are some of the things that we're going to look at. Oops, as we, I don't know why I just did that. But some of the things that we'll be looking at as we work on this chapter. So, once again, today, here's my beautiful beach. Are you jealous yet? I don't want to make a bird sound. Anyways, I just want to go through this again so you have a good idea. First, get your book downloaded, okay? We want Chapter 10, Sodbusters. Get this downloaded. All right, then you're going to make sure that in this book you read the first few pages and watch the video. I don't know why that just did that. Let me try that.
Look for 10. What geographic, economic, and political factors brought...
Oh, sorry about that. That's the beauty of that book. So you're going to look through the very first few chapters of this. The first few paragraphs of this chapter. Make sure that you have downloaded your new folder, Chapter 10, and you have your Chapter 10 comprehension worksheets. Okay, page 1 and page 2. And then you want to make sure that you have your note page. Okay, so get your notes done. Okay, so if you have all of that done, then also remember that you are working on this assignment. Investigation 9, The Untold Stories of the U.S.-Dakota War. This can be submitted to Schoology. So I know there's 3 big things that you're working on today. There is finishing up your Investigation 9 if you have not done that, getting that done. It's a big assignment, okay? So Mrs. Olson knows that you were working on this last week. I have this as the number 3 thing that you should be doing today, okay? This is number 3. All right, do that third. The first thing you need to do is get your book downloaded, and then get your folder created, and then create your comprehension worksheets and your note worksheets. Okay? So then today, I hope this doesn't start reading on me again. Today, You're going to watch the video. Okay? And then we're going to read. By the mid-1860s, okay, Minnesota was emerging from turbulent times. That turbulent time being two big conflicts, the Civil War and the U.S.-Dakota War of 1862. They have both ended. And now the attention was returning to the immigration and settlement. So you're going to continue to read through here and stop where it says starting small in Lincoln County. Okay, so you're going to read that. Then you're going to go back and you're going to answer. You're going to answer question number 1. Why were new settlers choosing to move to Minnesota in the years following the Civil War and the U.S.-Dakota War of 1862? So today, your only goal is to answer this question on this sheet. You don't have to do any other questions, okay? Now, I have 0 notes for you today, so there's no notes to take. You'll have some tomorrow, okay? When you're done with that, when you've downloaded all this, you've set up your folders, you've read that first section, you've answered question 1, then I want to make sure that you have your U.S.-Dakota War, the untold stories of the U.S. Civil War. I want to make sure that you have this done and submitted as well. So it's a pretty busy day for you. If you finish all of that, then of course work on anything else that you might have out for this class or any other classes. Don't forget to check your grades. All right, folks, you have a great rest of your day. I will see you soon. Remember, I will have my email on me, so if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.